back to the April monthly market update. I'm here with
Randy Williams with TBF Mortgage.
And I'm Mary Bartos, Premier Plus Realty. And Randy, let's get into it because you know what? Times are a-changing. There's a lot of different things going on in the world, and it does impact real estate. So tell me what our friend here, Alex Jackowitz, is saying.
Yeah, what you need to keep an economy chugging is business investing, businesses hiring, and people spending money. If people are apprehensive about whether their jobs are going to go away or whether there are going to be more layoffs in the future, you're going to start to see a pullback in spending.
Yeah, right? That makes sense. And consumer spending declined what? For the first time in nearly 2 Januaries?
Yep.
Crazy. We're not going political, but we're going to say it's crazy.
But it corresponds with something. So let's be real. Like, is that like horrible
election,
news? Yeah.
You know, that all of that comes out of that period of time as we're rolling into the next time.
Sure.
So it does make sense from that perspective.
Right.
And what's Mark Zandi saying?
The risks of a U.S. recession starting in the coming year are uncomfortably high and rising. I would put them at about 35%, up from 15% at the very beginning of the year.
Okay, so recessions, that seems to be a scary word. But, you know, Randy, you and I both know headlines are meant to terrify and not clarify.
Yes.
And they have been crazy headlines like, recession will destroy homeowners. What comes next?
Yeah, as an insider, like we see this stuff and we can kind of laugh about it and go, okay, but like it does affect the general public.
Yeah.
And recessions don't typically affect the housing market that much. And I think that's important for us to get across.
It is. And, you know, it's funny because there was something going around on social media. I don't know, Randy, that you saw it, but interest rates were 18%. And it was back in the 70s. And the guy that talked about it was like, oh, no, it's going up to 20%. Like they would die for a 7% interest rate, wouldn't they?
Yeah, historically still very low. You know, I mean, that's like we truly are. And we need to reinforce that as much as we possibly can. You know, we'd all like the rates to be a little bit less, and they will get there. You know, when the market, you know, asks for it, it will happen. You know,
it's funny. Before we get on, you know, I met with my own financial planner, and we carry a lot of cash because of a lot of different reasons. And I like to buy dirt. I've done really well in real estate, not so well in the market. Maybe I'm not the coolest person out there, but I have not done well there. And so, you know, he's saying, hey, you know, this was last week. You might want to put some more money there, you know, of your portfolio. We know there's blood in the water. We're not sure the gunfight's over, but I'm really glad I didn't because this week it went down again, you know, so where is the bottom and when do you buy and all those things? And I think that's what you're thinking about with real estate. How is a recession going to affect the value of my home?
Also for you, buy what you know, buy what you're comfortable with, like buy what your profession is. I'm in the same boat. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think as people are starting to see their stock portfolios maybe dip back a little bit, where's the safe place?
Right. Dirt.
Yeah.
So a recession doesn't mean falling prices, Randy. I mean, this shows the recessions dating back to 1980. Prices went up in 4 of those periods out of 6. And you know what? They went down in 2. Only one, 1991, it only went down like a little under 2%.
Yeah.
And then, of course, 2006, 8, et cetera, of course it went down.
A once in a lifetime scenario would happen there. Yeah, I think prices are going to stay steady. If anything, to make things a little bit more affordable, you'll see interest rates drop before you see prices drop.
Well, we hope so, right?
Right.
So let's talk about that, what Lori Goldman's saying.
Sure. A lot of people have this idea that home prices fall during recessionary periods. There's really not much of a connection between home prices and recessionary periods other than the great financial crisis, which is what we just said.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So, you know, a recession means falling mortgage rates. Wow. In those last 6 recessions, Randy, what was it? 0.63 was the lowest that the interest rate fell all the way up to 5% in 1981.
Well, and interest rates, the Fed, it's the tool that the Fed has to stimulate economy that maybe is slowing down, right? So they go hand in hand. That makes perfect sense.
So interest rates always come down with a recession, which will be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, number of new homes on the market reaches the highest level since 2009. So these are new builds. And that makes sense a lot because at the end of the day, 2007, 8, 9, 10, people weren't building new homes. We kind of went up, COVID, couldn't get supplies, issues, the whole thing. So it would make sense that in February, this was February's data that it's pulling from, that there's more that it's been since 2009.
The truth of the matter is, since the great financial crisis, we have been in a low inventory period the whole time.
Right.
So like, this is just a matter of just catching up, if you ask me.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Now, so newly built homes is a percent of all homes for sale. What, 31%?
Yeah. People are sitting on low interest rates and we need housing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they don't necessarily, in some markets, want to move.
Correct.
So our friend Odetta Cushy, we love Odetta from First American. What did she have to say?
Yeah, this means more homes on the market, more options for home buyers, which is good news for the housing market that has been underbuilt for over a decade. We are finally flipped from maybe a seller's market, a really strong seller's market, to maybe where the buyers have a little bit more pull now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're coming out of our quote summer high season market, and but around the rest of the country, what are they saying? The Altos, Adam, Realtor.com. They're all saying that year over year, we're going to have more inventory from as little as 11.7% with Realtor all the way up to 15% with Altos. I mean, I think that when we talk to folks, Randy, and I know you talk to a lot of folks that are coming from a different part of the country and they're coming into our area, they're still telling me there's like no inventory.
Yeah, we've had an inventory problem for a decade now.
Right.
We really, truly have. So, yeah, I mean, as interest rates have, crept up a little bit, as we have a new administration here, we have some new financial policies. I think we're going to have a little bit more inventory right now. But like I said, I think hopefully we see some pullback on the interest rates and watch what happens.
Well, I love that you have that perspective, as do I. We said for a whole year, interest rates are coming down. They're coming down. They're coming. Oh, they really didn't. So, I don't know.
They really
but we
haven't.
can't really predict what the Fed's going to do. Let's just put it that way. We can't do that.
Right.
But we can tell you what's happening in our local market. I love this slide. I love it a little bit. I love it because it talks about having more inventory than pre-pandemic levels. So we're sitting at the South. Year over year, we're down in some inventory, but we're way up 29.9 from the pre-pandemic. Not unusual, right?
No, as a seller, you have to be a little bit more realistic and aggressive right now.
Yes.
And as a buyer, you finally get a little bit of a breath of fresh air and feel like maybe a little bit of the leverage is back on your side. Not always, but in some cases.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, again, we go on with this chart really kind of shows between, let's see, what year, 17 and 25, looking at total listing count, which is increased by 17.3 compared with last year. But we're actually in the middle when you start to look at those numbers, Randy. If you look at I don't know, I'm colorblind, I guess, and they're hard to see. But when you're looking at this online, you're really going to be able to see it. But the numbers that have a higher listing count is actually back in 17, 18, and 19. The ones with lower counts was in that 21, 20, 22. So we are up, but not bad. Not bad as a country.
Well, the thing that we were just looking about our local market is it seems like we have such a steady amount of buyers every year, right? What we have now is a little different. Like the buyers are still here in the same exact amount as they have always been over like the last 8 or 9 years we were just going through. They just have a little bit more inventory to choose from right now.
That's right.
Right.
And which leads us to what our current market is.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Randy, that we have 10 plus months of inventory across all of our markets. I like to do Marco, Naples, Fort Myers, and Cape Coral in kind of separate markets because they really are. Some of them are a little less than others. In Marco, it's like 14.2% or something like that of inventory. It's a lot of homes to pick from.
Yeah.
Different types. I was looking at some analysis between condos and single family homes. But let's look at the total in each of these. Okay. You can see by the total number of pendings by month for each of these years, 22 through 25. Boy, those charts look really similar, don't they?
Yeah, like that's what we were just talking about. The buyers are here. They're 100% here. Same amount as they always are.
They're not any different.
Right.
We have more inventory. So let's kind of talk through that. Wow, look at the inventory, number of homes year over year, finishing the end of March, because that's the most recent data we have. And if you look at that, wow, we went from, let's take Fort Myers, which is, around 2000-ish or a little under.
Mm-hmm.
In 2000, what year is that? 2022, 23, 24, yeah, 22.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to like 12,500. So I have more inventory. Similarly, Naples is up to a little over 20,000 and they were, closer to 5,000, around 4,000. So we do see this slide going up, but at the end of the day, is that a bad thing?
Yeah, but you also have to you have to state that those were post-COVID years. Those were odd years,
right?
So when you see like a huge increase, I think that's a little inflated, if you ask me. I think we're more into a normal market that has definitely transitioned to more of a buyer side right now.
So yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So one last chart I really want to talk about is percent total listings per pending. So those total number of sales, percent of pendings divided by total number of sales in each one of those areas, 22 through 25. You can see, look at Fort Myers. It was over 100% of total sales in 22.
Sure.
That's pretty incredible. So they were selling faster than they could actually put the sales in, the homes listing. But when we fall down from 22 to 23, 24, and 25, I will tell you that it's actually not far off.
Well, again, the same amount of buyers, there's just more properties. So that's what that math is. All it tells you is if you're somebody who has to sell your house right now, who you choose to sell it with, your strategy has to be different than just put it on the market and fend off multiple offers. It's not really that anymore. You just you have to price it correctly. You have to market it correctly, and the buyers are here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. Yes, we have more physically sitting here, but I just sold a, $3 million home, Randy, sight unseen.
I'm having my busiest month of the year so far.
Right.
So we're not pulling back at all.
No, not at all.
Right.
So, we always kind of end this with, is it time to buy? It's funny. My real estate coach said to us, to our team, hey, did you hear the news? Real estate in Florida is on fire. It's for sale. It's, on sale. Let's put the right word there. It is, because when you think about some of the things like interest, insurance, taxes, all the things that are going to go into that home and the price of it, we seem a little bit like a steal because we don't have any property. Our property taxes are low. Our income taxes are non-existent. Or existent. What do I want, Randy? I'm struggling with my words.
We don't pay income taxes here.
We don't pay income taxes.
Right.
And you start to look at that, and we did some quick math between what she has in New Jersey and what I own on the water on Marco Island, and I was half the carrying costs.
I think you are just giving all of the reasons why people like to live here. We already know that. We're here.
True.
The buyers are going to come every year. We know that for a fact.
Well, I don't know how you feel about it with Florida being, quote, on sale. We are sure for sale, but on sale. It's a great place to buy and live. I don't know. You move for your own reasons, but we sure would like to help you, whether you're buying or selling here in Southwest Florida. I'm Mary Bartos with the Bartos Group.
And Randy Williams with TBF Mortgage.
We look forward to seeing you here next month.